Boys in the box on Monday, bud.
You're what?
Boys in the box on Monday.
Boys in the box. You know it, pal.
I got no problem with that. Welcome to Covers His Puck Props with 14-year NHL vet Carlo Colaiacovo, presented by Sports Interaction. Massive card yesterday. Always hard to dissect it. Finished a little plus money. It's the shot on goals have just been tough over the last couple days. Everything else, pretty spot on. Washington team total under was easy. Chicago scores 1 early and somehow still loses 2-1. Winnipeg, as you said, coming in is absolutely printing money on team total under. And
yeah.
There's not a lot of handicapping behind it at this point. It's just bet it. I don't care who's in that. Could be Hellebuyck, could be
just stay on the train until it falls off, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Matthews on the board. Leafs fall, but let's go with that. Oh, hit a good personal play with a little Sidney Crosby tying goals with 30 seconds left. The guy is an absolute legend right now. What he's doing in Pittsburgh. But let's get to it. We got a small slate here, pal. Nashville, Dallas.
Small slates.
And they're kind of interesting games. They're ugly, but they're interesting. Nashville, Dallas. They played on Saturday. Nashville won 4-3, but there wasn't a lot of offense on both sides. UC Saros has fallen off the face of the planet. 5 goals in 4 of his last 5 starts, 4.64 goals against, and an 8.35 save percentage. Let's get right to the play. Hi to everybody there in the chat. Boom. Dallas team total over 3.5 minus 115. Like I said, not sure if it's Saros, could be Lankinen, but who doesn't want to get Lankinen? 3.14 goals against backup. Allowed 3 in that game, but just on 29 shots. Dallas actually won the expected goal battles pretty easily. All of a sudden, Dallas, the number 2 offense in hockey, scored nearly 4 goals a game, and a lot of that has come down to the play in net of late. And when you get goaltenders who aren't letting you win 4-1, you have to supplement that with goal scoring. Dallas, one of the best over teams in hockey, 26-14 over under on the season, 7-3 in their last 10. The Stars offense has flown under the radar, Carlo, one of the better units in hockey. And a lot of that has come down to a team that's allowing 3.2 goals against over its last 20 games. What does an offense know going into games that they're going to need 4 to win because they're not getting the goaltending? Could be, and they're playing back-to-back, so it could be, we could see a Matt Murray game, and we could see Scott Wedgwood, and I wouldn't look too much into what they did versus Minnesota that can't score in their last 2 games, indicative of how they're holding teams down.
No, I've been on sort of the same boat as you with the Dallas Stars. I've been really impressed with their games as of late. When they're winning, they're scoring a bunch, and even when they're losing, they're finding themselves in these high-scoring games. So against the Nashville team, they're hot and coldy, you know, like they go on these good stretches, they put themselves in a playoff position, and then they go on these rough patches and see themselves out of the playoffs. So I think, you know, the fact that it's a divisional matchup, you got Dallas trying to keep pace with Colorado, that's created some separation in the standings for them. You know, depending on the goalie matchup, it's a chance you might see both starters. There's a chance you might see both backups. But regardless, both teams can score, and both teams have had a hard time keeping the puck out of their net too. So I like the angle that you're targeting here with Dallas, and you know, the mojo that they're playing with offensively.
Yeah, in the chat we see Ottinger may be back, right, from Daniel. Yes. They've been saying that for like 4 games. He's missed that many games. Like Scott Wedgwood's played like 12 of 13 games. Ottinger hasn't been sent, like he hasn't been put on the IR or anything. Like he's
it's a day-to-day thing, yeah.
So it is interesting, but you would think they would have to send a goalie down. Like they would have to send Matt Murray down. But I guess he's still on the roster. So they're carrying 3 goalies right now.
They are carrying 3 goalies. It's bizarre, but it could be like, what do they call it? oh man, what's the word I'm looking for? Where coaches play games with each other. Um,
Chess match.
it could be a chess match type of game, psychological warfare. Because maybe they don't want too much information out there to actually make people believe that what he's dealing with is worse than what he's dealing with. If you're that worried about Ottinger playing, being back, maybe pay a little bit more close attention to this towards game time. But it shouldn't take away from the fact that Dallas is a team that we're targeting here, and we're riding with their offense on this one.
Yeah, in most of these cases, you would expect a team to make a roster move in the afternoon to clear the guy, but because Ottinger is still on the roster, they won't have to do that, which is interesting. But the guy's been out since December 16th, so if he comes back, sure. If not, doesn't matter. I don't care about UC Saros. I'm not worried about him right now with his recent play, and Kevin Lankinen doesn't really bother me either in this spot. So Dallas team total over 3.5 is what I like there in the early game. Jumping over to the next game, let's go. And there are some points in this. So we're on Minnesota team total under a flat 3, -115. Again, all odds coming via Sports Interaction. It's always nice to have outs at a book where you can bet the flat number. Like the difference between this 3 and the 3.5 is -115 to -180. That's significant. Sometimes in betting, you're betting not to lose. And that's what I find myself with the flat number. Happy, like the push, but love the insurance of the flat number in the push. We see the under 2.5 is at +115. That is also in play. I do like that. We were mentioning it in the other game. We've already faded this team in the Dallas matchup, Minnesota. That was Scott Wedgwood versus Minnesota, and they still struggled to score. They scored 2 goals, but they came late in the game, and the second goal came on a 5-on-3 on a dumb tripping penalty. I believe it was by Tyler Seguin, and I was about to lose my if I lost that one, I would have been real angry. But the under 2.5's in play. Like the full game under 6 at -115, but like this one, just the same, pretty much the same side, even the push at 6, kind of compared to the same team total under 3. Minnesota's 1-5 with Kaprizov out. They've scored just 6 total goals in those 5 losses. Philly, on the other hand, we've been on them. They're struggling to score. They're playing well. Torts has been talking about he liked their speed versus Montreal, but they're still struggling to score. 2.25 goals per game since the break. That's a bottom 5 mark. Both teams not to score 2 goals in this game. If you're looking for weird markets, +125. Like one of these teams could win 3-1 easily in this spot. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see both teams get it. Now, here's the other angle, and I got to get your perspective on it. Marc-Andre Fleury can pass Patrick Waugh all-time win list. And they're tied right now, number 2 overall. John Hines said Flowers sat the other game. They got the rookie start because he wanted to bring this home. He also wanted to give Fleury a little time to focus on this match, right? You don't want to drag these out. You want to get it, finish it, for sure. This is a big milestone and one that's obviously within the locker room. How does that affect the team inside the Minnesota dressing room? And should we just kind of expect a low-scoring affair across both sides in this game?
Well, I think when you hear the decision for John Hines to give him this game, he probably recognizes the importance of Marc-Andre Fleury breaking that kind of record and probably the reception he'll receive from the home fans. Ideally, if you want him to do it, you want him to do it at home. And, being at home always gives you an extra advantage. You talk about the fans, talk about the last line change. And so maybe that is a priority tonight, but just because that's what you game plan doesn't necessarily mean you're automatically going to get that result. You mentioned the struggles that Minnesota is going through. I don't think those struggles change tonight just because they want Marc-Andre Fleury to get the win. But it does provide extra incentive for sure. It's probably something they, I wouldn't say the team is talking about, but they're probably aware of. Maybe it's something that the coach identifies in his pregame speech saying, hey, let's go do this one for Fleury, but or maybe it's a conversation during the guys' pregame meals if they get together for it. Let's do this one for Fleury, but they've got bigger problems right now in Minnesota, and aside from winning games, they just can't score. So, we talked about Winnipeg printing money for us recently because of, the team totals that we continue to bet against them. Minnesota's one right now that we've targeted and that we've been on for the last couple of games. And it's got to be one of those trains that you continue to ride until it stops. That's just the angle that I'm looking at. And I think the angle that we look at when it stops is when Kaprizov and maybe Zuccarello comes back into the lineup, because without those guys, it's been a struggle bus, an absolute struggle bus.
Zook's back. Zook is back.
Is this his first game back?
No, he played the other night. He was
okay.
He was plus 175 not to get a point.
What?
Yeah. That's
wow.
Neil Parker from Covers put that in his prop play, and I'm like, that's incredible. And then he got a power play point on that 5-on-3 at the end of the game.
Hey, maybe there's a reason why they teased, they reeled you in on that one.
I know, but like if looking at the props here at Sports Interaction, just goal props up right now as they're trying to figure out the situation with it. But if you can get Zuccarello for plus 160 or better not to get a point, that's
a good bet.
I'll be on that. I'll be on that absolutely.
And I'm not sure if you heard Torch's post game. Not only did he, rip into the reporter that called out Kevin Hayes, but he did compliment Urson, quite significantly, talking about how confident he is in his game and his abilities, and complimented his focus and his approach to the game. How he's a goalie that doesn't seem to get rattled. And I think that's a huge boost of confidence to hear from your coach for a guy that would be considered a backup goaltender in this league. And if you're Carter Hart, you're the number one guy, but if your coach is saying stuff about your backup goaltender doing that, you wonder how much that factors into his approach to the game, knowing that he could be potentially losing the net if he doesn't, pick up his game. So I think it's a message well sent, and it should be a message well received that, you got to like how the team feels about their goaltending in this as well, too, regardless of who's in the net. Yep.
Don't like goals there. Like some goals in the Star side. 2-game slate. It's so nice to handicap 2 games. It takes some time. If you don't have projections, like to go through an 11-game slate, like you miss.
I know. Well, there's been some good suggestions too on the chat as well. Adam Rankamp, who loves to chime in, and we really appreciate that. Jacob Middleton, block shots. You love the block shots market. Flyers who shoot a ton. Jamie Drysdale assists. He had one last game, and you wonder if getting another game under his belt will get him more comfortable. So Darren Folk says plus 185 for Zook, no points. He likes it.
I do. I really like that situation. And Philly's not an easy opponent to play against. Just because they're not scoring doesn't mean they're playing bad hockey. They're just not putting the puck in the net. They're still playing tight. And Carter Hart, like you said, I love that angle because he has lost starts recently to Samuel Urson. And he sounds like Tort's trying to motivate him a bit. And what a great opponent to do it against tonight, Minnesota, who can't score.
No kidding. Should be wild.
Because projecting low scoring, obviously a little more value on that tie, just because 2-2, maybe somewhere in that spot, 3-1, 4-1, like that spot as well. So let's keep things small. Not a lot of props, but some goal angles there on both sides as we recap a little play here. We go Dallas, team total over 3.5, minus 115. Nothing wrong with that. And then we stick on the blueprint of fading the Kaprizov-less Minnesota toothless offense under 3, flat 3. If you don't have a book that has flat numbers and team totals, make sure you get them. They're another great little spot there. All odds from Sports Interaction. Weekend time, football, gonna be cold. I heard 2 favorite words from the Buffalo game. From the Miami game in Kansas City. It's gonna be cold. 2 words: liquor blanket.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, but hats off to anybody who's out there in Buffalo this weekend.
Good
It's gonna be
luck.
ugly, and especially in Arrowhead, where it's just gonna be as cold as basically we've seen in football. So appreciate everybody there in the chat. You guys are beauts. Carlo, appreciate it. We'll be back Wednesday, 10 o'clock. More NHL releases. I'm Josh Ingles. He's Carlo Colaiacovo. This is Covers' NHL Puck Props presented by Sports Interaction. We'll see you back next week.
Ciao.